Welcome and welcome back to Rooted to Thrive, conversations that elevate our humanity podcast. It's your girl, it's your friend Rochelle, aka Professor P. Now, today we have Kelly Woodland, Executive Director of the Center for Leadership Equity at the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. I know that was a mouthful, but Kelly is a long time nonprofit professional with a deep experience in leadership, capacity building, philanthropy, and youth development, like me. And so, Kelly, it is an honor to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm good, good. Very pleased and honored to be your guest this afternoon.
Wonderful. Now, before we start our conversation about centering Black nonprofit leaders building capacity through community, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. I've been a nonprofit professional for almost 40 years,
Mm,
and I've had a variety of different experiences. And one of the things that I think is important, it isn't so much the depth of my experiences as it is the angles and the perspectives that I've been afforded as a result of those experiences. So I've led a community development corporation. I've worked at a cultural institution, worked at a pre-college organization, worked in philanthropy, had my own business, and all of those experiences gave me a perspective on how leadership grows, how it's fostered, how it's supported. And that is something that I've been really mindful of from day one, because oftentimes the success of an organization is predicated upon how that leader is supported, poured into, and invested in. Because I
yes.
look at leadership as the doorway to an organization's impact and sustainability.
Oh, I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you are the leader, the executive director of the Center for Leadership Equity at United Way. Tell us a little bit about that. What's the center about?
Yeah, well, the Center for Leadership Equity is an entity that was created to provide responsive professional development opportunities and resources for nonprofit leaders. And I think the center, as we look at how it has evolved and how it's formed, it
Mhm.
really evolved out of the formation of the Black Nonprofit Chief Executives of Philadelphia, which was founded in June 2020 in the backdrop of COVID and the murder of George Floyd. And as we began to convene Black nonprofit leaders to really figure out how to unpack what was going on, both personally and professionally, I started to recognize what those leaders needed to be effective, impactful. Because what I noticed was that uh, what was going on in the country, folks were dealing with on a personal level. And
Mhm.
Black nonprofit leaders were also dealing with it on a personal level, but it was playing out in a professional form because they were also leading other nonprofit executives in their organization. They were oftentimes serving Black communities. So that hat that they were wearing was doubly heavy. So the Center for Leadership Equity was created and informed and inspired by the need to support the unique challenges that these leaders were facing. These were individuals who were both proximate to the people and the work. And when you look at effective leadership, that's a key ingredient. But they were also individuals who have traditionally and historically done the most with least.
The people who have done the most with the least.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. And I know I've been to your orientation, but I don't know that it clicked that BNCEP came first.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's important because the center prides itself on being responsive.
Yes.
So it evolved. It wasn't something that I had in my mind. I didn't have a preconceived notion to create this. It really evolved out of the necessity because nothing like it existed. And when we look at why the center exists, I often put it in the frame of targeted universalism,
Okay.
meaning we focus principally or initially on the needs of a group of people who have historically been negatively impacted.
Mhm.
So while Black nonprofit leaders have existed for a long time, they've had to participate in learning and professional development opportunities that were like a one size fits all. And what the center aims to do is to not only be responsive, but customize the supports that they say they need and they want. And that's an experience that will help us develop other customizable opportunities for other communities that are doing the work.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and that leads to my next question because I was going to ask you, how does centering lived experience and cultural understanding strengthen leadership within any
Oh,
organization, but particularly in the nonprofit space?
well, I think it's a key element. Lived experiences is almost like getting a PhD,
Mm,
academically. Oftentimes, Black nonprofit leaders come to this work because of a personal experience. So they understand acutely the impact of when the rubber hits the road. I often use the example, we didn't wake up in grad school and figure out, you know what, I want to lead an organization around food insecurity. I want to lead an organization that's dealing with housing. I want to lead an organization that's dealing with youth development. We oftentimes come to it because either we personally have experienced something or our family or friends, we've noticed someone have either had their quality of life compromised or the opportunities limited as a result of something that didn't play out the way it was supposed to. So when we look at policy generally, and this shows the value of lived experiences, oftentimes policy is well intended, but oftentimes it's crafted by people who have never been, for lack of a better word, the end user. So if you've never really benefited or been hurt by certain policy, then you may perpetuate the practice of conceiving of policy a certain way. Oftentimes, when you have lived experiences, you know what good policy should consist of because of how it should be implemented to support folks on the ground.
right, right. The person who needed the resource,
Exactly.
right? So the real policy maker should be or include the
Exactly.
team, should include
We should be at the table. And
the
I've
people.
often
Mhm.
said in this country, the face of vulnerable communities have historically been Black and brown.
Mhm.
And what we're trying to do is to ensure that the face of the individuals driving the social solutions are Black and brown. So we can't just be looked at from a deficit lens. We must be viewed from an asset lens as well. We often, like I said, are doing the most with least, but we have also had experiences where we've been incredibly resourceful to sustain these organizations. Can you imagine what would happen if we were resourced at the level needed, where we can transition from being resourceful to innovative?
Come on now. Yeah, I can imagine it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's where the Black Nonprofit Chief Executives of Philadelphia comes in,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Without a doubt. It's a
Yeah.
community of leaders. And I often say it is an affinity group, but it's a little bit more. It's a community of leaders who have come together because they realize the value of collaborating and supporting each other And I think from an aspirational standpoint, they believe in reimagining a sector where we all can win. And I think, unfortunately, we've been operating within the paradigm where if I win, that means you lose.
Well, that paradigm is as old as America,
Hmm.
the United States of America, and that's where we get it from,
Right, right.
right? That scarcity mindset.
Exactly,
That
exactly.
in order for one to win, one has to lose. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not true. Now, I know somebody listening to this is like, Rochelle, but you're competitive. I know, but I just like, I mean, like with games.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
I like to win the little games.
it's okay. It's okay to be competitive because oftentimes what we're really competing for is to maximize our potential.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
all want to make sure our organizations exist. But when we collaborate and we're in community with each other, we start broadening the definition of what success looks like.
yes, indeed. And at the point where this recording is happening, we are only a few days into the federal SNAP program being halted
Mhm.
because Congress is deadlocked, right? There's no budget.
Right.
And in Pennsylvania, we don't have a budget
Mhm.
at the time of this recording. And I kept thinking when it came to the SNAP benefits, right? Oh, there was a an email we received about a grant, right? That would have been available to people if they applied in the next 24 hours.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I kept thinking, like, wow, right? All of the smaller nonprofits are going to be like, yeah, they're going to throw their hands up. And listen, I experienced that at LaSalle.
Mhm.
If they had less than a month, it wasn't going to get through their system,
Right, right.
and they've been around for a while.
Mhm. Yeah.
But thinking about the smaller nonprofits, I was like, wow, if the smaller nonprofits, larger nonprofits were locked arms, like there was a plan to be locked together
Mhm.
with even one other better resourced nonprofit
Mhm.
for things like this,
Right.
it could activate that strategy
Oh, without a
in
doubt.
community.
Right,
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Without a
because
doubt.
things like this happen.
Yeah. And see, a key element of it is not only the social connectivity, but
Mhm.
it's the communication piece.
Yes.
And a big thing when you're dealing with communities and the different elements or segments of community
Mhm.
is how information is shared and who gets it.
Mhm.
Because the unfortunate thing is that if you're not clued in,
Mhm.
then you're on the out. And one of the things that we try to do in BNCEP is we don't want to be gatekeepers. We
Right.
want to be door openers.
Mhm.
So when we look at our membership, we're not trying to create this rigorous screen.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the mission? Do you
Mhm.
believe in supporting Black nonprofit leadership? We center Black nonprofit leaders. We don't exclude. It's important that we build a community where we have a variety of different segments because as information gets out, hey, share it. We're not holders or keepers of the flame. Get
Right.
that word out. And that's
Yes.
why our membership is growing because we're not we're not gatekeeping. We're not trying to say not you or no, this is something for everyone who believes in the work and believe that it's important.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Now, can you share an example of how that affinity group has tangibly either shifted leadership, funding, or collaboration dynamics in the ecosystem?
Sure. I think one of the things in collaboration with the Center for Leadership Equity and BNCEP creating this infrastructure one of the things we've been able to do is to connect nonprofit leaders with funders. Um, One of the reports that I initiated that was released in 2022 was Reflecting Forward. Um,
Mm,
Black nonprofit leaders' recommendation to regional funders. And one of those recommendations was for the philanthropic community to get to know us. So one of our charges is for funders to get to know Black nonprofit leaders. Oftentimes, funders are making decisions to fund organizations based on their knowledge of that
mhm,
organization. So just stands the reason they have to get to know Black nonprofit leaders. So we've had events that connect Black nonprofit leaders with funders, and
mhm.
that's very important. The other thing is recognizing the immense social capital that exists within our community. Oftentimes, when we think of social capital, we're always thinking how many individuals outside of our space we need to know. That's important. Not denying that that's not important. But
Mhm,
also, let's look within our community and see that there are individuals that have access and opportunities and knowledge that we need to know. So in BNCEP, you'll see prominent leaders of nonprofits where their
mhm,
budgets may be 15 and 20 million
mhm.
alongside of someone who is just starting their organization. That's
Yeah.
social capital and connecting that's important as well. We've seen members share information about getting on each other's boards. That's
Mhm.
important. Sharing information about um, collaborating in a strategic sense. Those are
Yes.
things that I think would not happen
Mm,
had there not been a BNCP. And I think, and you've been to the meetings,
mhm.
the temperature in the room is very warm and
Yes.
supportive. And I think it foments and fosters the type of transparency and openness that's necessary to be able to support each other. So we don't just talk the talk. I
That's
think
right.
many of the folks
Mm,
walk the walk as well.
yes. And I've heard the saying, people share at the speed of trust.
Right. Yeah.
So the trust does come first. And
Hmm.
yes, we recently had an experience where literally we watched an entire room of people share.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
they shared their needs. They
Hmm.
and other people raised their hands to be a resource.
Exactly. Exactly. And be very open about that. Excuse me.
Yes, no, no problem. I mean, it is a very warm organization. Now, when you were talking, I was thinking about a recent connection that was made. So I'm a I'm a member, but a capacity building member, right? Because
Hmm.
I don't lead a nonprofit. I've been nonprofit adjacent a lot,
Hmm.
like working with the United Way and with the Girls Today Leaders Tomorrow initiative for 6 years. So I worked with 12 nonprofit leaders at the
Hmm.
time. I
Hmm.
coach nonprofit CEOs now
Hmm.
in collaboration with you all, which is fantastic. But I show up every month because of that warmth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I find community in that space. And I've been able to connect other people. So you probably once a month get an email from me like this
Hmm.
person should
Right.
talk,
Right.
right?
Right. And you know what? I was telling folks the thing is that we don't market.
No,
And that's important because when you market something, the person on the other end is thinking,
mhm,
why are you trying to get me to join this?
right.
But what we do benefit from is that informal sponsorship, that
Mm,
recommendation, because someone sees
mhm,
something in you that they feel can help contribute to the temperature in the room. And the thing
yes.
that I often say is all of those leaders that are members of BNCP
Mhm,
are like thermostats.
mm,
They set the temperature. and we all are in there, and it is a positive, nurturing experience. And I'm glad to be a part of it because the important thing around leadership, leadership doesn't grow in isolation.
It doesn't.
It grows in community.
Mm-hmm.
It grows intentionally. It grows informally when you see how other leaders move. Oftentimes you have to almost be out of your organization to kind of take that hat off and start to connect with people in a different way, in a non-judgmental way. And as it relates to professional development, and this is what I think is the special sauce, if I can elaborate just a second, because
Please.
I think folks are more inclined to consume and digest a learning experience in a professional setting greater if they are doing it in connection with people who they feel aren't judging them, people who they feel have their back, people who they feel they share a journey with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very different than um, someone dropping in to a capacity building program. They can still get something
Mm-hmm.
from it, but
Right.
it's enhanced because I've been in settings where it could be, years ago, like an Excel class or a finance class, where folks
Mm-hmm.
may be reluctant to raise their hand around what they don't know. And as a capacity builder, you need to know what folks don't know because that shapes what you're going to share with them or where to start.
Correct.
Well,
Yes.
folks may be reluctant to say, because they may be a leader or they have a C-suite title,
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
may be like, I don't want to let everyone know I don't know this.
Right.
When the center does a program in collaboration with BNCEP, the participants feel okay about saying, I don't really know this.
That's,
And they don't have to fear of being judged.
that's right.
And that
Mm-hmm.
increases the likelihood of them digesting the information that's important. And another thing that I will say that's been very helpful of this infrastructure that we've built with BNCP and the center is that oftentimes leaders are reluctant to set time aside to participate in a professional development experience because they may say, I don't have the time for that. I got to do this, I got to do that. Well, they participate in the professional development opportunities that we provide, and then they start to see, hey, this was useful. This was
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. Then I think it increases the chances of them participating in opportunities that are offered elsewhere.
Right.
So it increases a leader's self-efficacy. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's oftentimes overlooked and underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'm thinking about a couple of things. You said when you were talking about people being connected in community and feeling comfortable enough to raise their hand, the first thing I thought was that imposter syndrome that a lot of people just assume executive directors, top leaders, CEOs don't have. And
Hmm.
I know people in top leadership positions across industries, had a
Right.
lot of them in higher ed, who
Hmm.
would admit to me that they suffered from imposter syndrome
Yeah.
just as one thing, just one thing. And
Hmm.
it's connected to what you said earlier that the personal always affects the professional.
Always.
Now, for the nonprofit leader, like the Black nonprofit leader that you were talking about, the Latinx, the LGBTQIA plus leader, often, or the person who has somebody in their family, right, with disabilities or has disabilities
Hmm.
themselves. Of course, the personal and the professional are connected, but I
Hmm.
will dare say it's the same for anybody.
Yeah.
However,
Mhm.
it's front and center for these
Oh,
people.
yeah.
It's front
Yeah.
and center.
Yeah. And I think what's happened for a lot of individuals from different communities
Mhm.
is that old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans
Mm.
do. So many of the folks have found themselves in Rome and forced to do as the Romans do. And as a result of that, they're not bringing their full selves and appreciating the value of their full selves because they're trying to align or fit into this other construct. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is what keeps leaders from maximizing their potential as leaders because they don't feel that they're being valued for who they are. So they migrate as close to the middle as possible, as opposed to allowing their full selves to be present and
Yeah.
recognizing that it can blend very nicely with their professional self, but it helps. And that's why I'm a big believer, like I said, on those who are proximate to the people in the work, because
Mm-hmm.
it does give you an additional sense. And I'm not diminishing anyone's experience in academia that has also helped them develop a perspective. But for
Mm-hmm.
those that may have both, let's give it the weight that it deserves because it's essential. And the important thing, if you look at both types of individuals, the important thing is that we get it right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be perfect, but we have to have a commitment to getting it right. And when you're trying to get it right, then you're going to be utilizing and leveraging a variety of different experiences and perspectives from individuals to do it. And I think in leadership, I often say a good leader doesn't have to know everything. You just need to be able to ask the right questions.
Yes, yes, indeed. And that's inclusive leadership,
Exactly.
what you just described. It's equitable and inclusive
Mm-hmm.
leadership, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people have been talking about. I told you, Kelly, you have a way to just make it plain. People, it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
So tell me this, what's your vision for the future of this network and for equity-centered capacity building in the sector as a whole?
Yeah. I think I'd like to see BNCP continue to grow.
Mhm.
And I'd like BNCP to be at the forefront of recommending the strategies, the solutions for what our community and our region needs. Like I said, I think we've often been the face of vulnerable communities, and I'd like us to be the face of driving innovative solutions. And I know we can. I think we're very capable of doing that because I'm humbled when I've been in the room and in company of BNCP members. And I've seen how they have helped the Center for Leadership Equity grow and become viable. So that would be my vision.
Yes, that's wonderful. And do you have any, practical steps that could help move from token partnerships to true power sharing?
Hmm. I do think just off the top that I would say it's important in developing thoughtful partnerships and relationships beyond transactions.
Mhm.
And I'm a big believer in that transactionalism has really hurt us as a community. Um, and it goes is similar to what I've been saying all along. When you fully appreciate the other person, you have the greater chance to develop the kind of relationship that's necessary that works for everyone. So I
Yes.
think investing in relationship building, investing in getting to know the folks who are doing the work, their journey, their challenges. And it isn't about, what really annoys me is when people throw around terms like political correctness or whatever. I'm focused on being considerate
Mm.
of everyone who wants to be part of the solution.
Mhm.
And I think in terms of being inclusive, that's my vision.
Yes. Yes. Include everybody who wants to be a
That,
part of what's
that's right.
positive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Everyone should have a seat at the table, regardless of how large your organization is. And I was telling someone just the other day, you'll hear people say that the nonprofit sector is crowded and it's too many nonprofits. And I
Mhm.
think what happened is the message we have communicated to community stakeholders is I'll listen to you if you lead an organization. Because if you lead an organization, the assumption is you have a constituency that is either following or you're serving. So you deserve a seat at the table. And people have heard that and they say, oh, okay, let me start a nonprofit because I want to be seen, I want to be heard. And again, when we talk about building relationships and so forth, it's valuing, hearing, seeing the other people.
Mhm.
And when you do that, that's how folks feel more connected, more involved, more included.
Mhm. Yes, indeed. That's wonderful. Listen, Kelly, I have one final question for you. I don't even know if you're going to be prepared for this one, but I have heard you say in the past, we are too important to fail.
Mm,
Would you elaborate on that statement?
sure, sure. Well, my career spans 40 years, and I've seen organizations in this city struggle, and I've seen different segments of our region come together to make sure that organization or the cause that they're meeting doesn't go under, that doesn't fail. And when I think about the people who are doing the work, the proximate leaders, when I think about the impact that we are making and can make, and when I think about the folks who are leading organizations that are crucial to the quality of life and providing opportunities, we are too important to fail. Think of the world where we don't exist and the tax and the burden that is left on others to meet or fill the gap if we don't exist. So oftentimes, nonprofits are looked upon as takers. They don't look at us as critical partners in maintaining, preserving, and advancing a quality of life. If
Mhm.
one of our organizations go under, that is how you can assess the impact of an organization's need in a community when that organization doesn't exist. So I would say much of the work that we're doing and the people who are doing it are too important to fail. And that is the value proposition to our region.
But love it. I love it. I want to see that on a billboard.
Yeah.
Kelly, it has been a pleasure. And I'm just always astounded. Every time you speak, I have something I need to write down.
Oh, appreciate that.
That's why I had that comment, that quote written down,
Yeah.
because we all are too important to
Well,
fail.
yeah.
And in the Black community of all variations, it's been my experience that we were always a community-centered people.
Mhm.
Yes, and that is what has saved us. That is what has elevated us. And we simply need to return to the basics.
Exactly.
Yeah, our foundation.
That's right. That's right. No, I
So
agree.
yes, so please share with everyone, our listeners, how they can reach you after this episode, and if you have any final words of advice.
Sure. I can be reached at K Woodland at unitedforimpact.org. The Center for Leadership Equity is incubated out of the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. They've been incredibly supportive of the work that we've been doing. Um, if folks are interested in learning more about the BNCEP community, you can go to bncep.org. We have a website. You can reach out and try to schedule a virtual open house to learn a little bit more about the work that we're doing. And I can be reached that way.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, folks, what you've heard today is more than a model, it's a movement.
Mm,
Centering Black nonprofit leaders isn't just about inclusion, it's about rebalancing power, it's about reclaiming agency in a sector that's too often overlooks the brilliance already leading in our communities, right?
mm,
So, this partnership between the Affinity Group and the Center for Leadership Equity at United Way reminds us that real capacity building starts with connection,
mm,
as Kelly has said, and has built a community built on trust and courage to listen.
mm.
It's not a checklist, it's a commitment.
There you go. Appreciate that.
Yes, yes. So when
Mm,
Black leaders thrive, communities thrive.
that's
And
right.
that's the kind of sustainability every sector needs.
That's right. We all win.
Yes, we all win. Win, win. Yes. So thank you again, Rooted to Thrive Tribe. I'm Rochelle Peterson-Ansari, Professor P. Thank you for tuning in and for continuing to build communities and systems rooted in justice, connection, and care. See you next time here on Rooted to Thrive. I'll be here as soon as you tune in. Thank you.